Y'all, let's talk about narcissistic timing. I noticed that, and I found out the person was narcissistic way later. I've known him since I was 18. I've talked about this before. And I never knew all these years that he was actually a narc. I did not ever know because I never saw him. I rarely saw him in person. I didn't talk to him that much. And because narcissists have uh, mood swings, unpredictable mood swings, when they're going through their little bitch mode, they could just not talk to you during that time. They could just avoid. And then the next time they talk to you again, it's when they're back on the upside of things. Hey, how you doing? Haven't talked to you for a while. You're all right? And so they sound normal. So if this crap goes on for years and years and years and they hide it through the years, you're not going to necessarily know that they're a narcissist, okay? But those of you that have dealt with narcissists before, or you think you might be dealing with a narcissist, you will notice that anything that they ask you to do, especially men, if they anything that you ask them to do, they will do it tomorrow or next week. They're not going to do it now, even though they're sitting on their ass doing nothing. I'm not going to do it because I'll do it next week. Well, you're not doing nothing now. I'll do it next week. Don't bother me. Okay. This is so typical. But if one of their men friends asked them to do something, they do it today, right now. Right now. I know a narcissist who does that with a guy friend of his. And I said to him, did your husband talk to you? You talked to your husband today? And he knows exactly who I'm talking about because every time his guy friend asks him, he drops everything and does it immediately. He even ran and got him a sandwich and brought it to him at work because he wasn't allowed to leave. The guy wasn't allowed to leave work, so he ran and got him a sandwich. Do you honestly think he's going to do that for a woman? You must be smoking something. Not unless they're trying to get in her drawers. Then they'll do it. There's very little that they won't do when they're trying to dip their pen in the ink, okay? Now, my previous friend, I noticed that he started doing that stupid shit. I didn't know at the time that he was a narc. I found out later. Boy, did I find out way later. Um, I didn't know. I didn't freaking know because I never saw him. And when he was going through his bitch mode, he didn't call me. Okay. And he started doing that stupid shit. I need this. I need help with this right now. No, I'll do it next week or I'll do it tomorrow. No, you're not. So I started to notice the pattern of him pushing me off. I'll do it next week, you know. And I started noticing the pattern. I connected the dots and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna even bother asking because I already know how this goes. I will be pushed off until next week or tomorrow or 3 weeks from now or whatever the time frame is. So he got to the point where, I'd ask him because I still was being a little slow. I'd ask him and then he'd say, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow. No, you won't. That's what I told him. I said, no, you won't. Yes, I will. No, you won't because you always say that. Oh, somebody's putting your feet to the fire. Oh, doesn't feel so good, does it? I don't like liars. I told him that. I said, you lied to me 4 times in a row. And this is before I realized he was a narc. You have never lied to me. I don't know is that something new that we're doing now? Because we don't do that. Well, apparently he does do that because he's a narc and I didn't know. All right. So kept pushing me off, pushing me off, pushing me off. Now, if I would have did that to him, because, getting with somebody naked is something that's the biggest priority ever, right? If I would have did that to him, well, I'll give you some next week. Okay. That's not going to fly. He'll be like, I'll be back on the plane going back home. Yeah, well, I'll do it next week. They wouldn't like that. They don't want to be put off when it's something important to them, and that is the most important thing in the world. That's almost more important than breathing, which is kind of dumb because if you're not breathing, you're not going to get no action anyway because you're dead. Okay? But he's not smart enough to realize that. Anyway, so I started getting, these red flags started popping up that were a lot more obvious than before. And the time frame, everything gets pushed off. But if a guy asks them to do something, they do it today, right now. Maybe you should try to get some from him because he's more of a priority anyway. So those were huge red flags, like glaring red flags. And then I realized my brain started pressing the rewind button on the what do you call it, tape recorder, like what we did back in the day. You press the rewind and my brain's going, and I'm remembering all the times that I saw him in person, which wasn't very often because we're in two different time frames. I mean, time zones. He's in New York, I'm in Missouri. Every single time I was with him, every time without fail, I was very alone. Very, very abandoned, very, very alone. Now, if I go to the beach by myself, and I've done it many, many times, oh my God, many times. I love the East Coast, I love the ocean. Many times. And I go by myself, I'm not lonely because I expect to be alone because I'm by myself, right? Makes sense, yeah? But when you're with somebody and you're alone, and they're standing right next to you or sitting right next to you, that is an awkward feeling. That is a very, very awkward feeling. I realized in retrospect, because I'm sitting here and I'm analyzing and I'm starting to connect the dots. After all these years, I'm starting to connect the dots. And I realized that I made excuses for why I felt alone when I was with him. And I thought, he's just weird. He's just weird. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. That's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. He's a narcissist. You're going to feel very uncomfortable around them and you don't know why. I felt abandoned. And we went out to eat. We went to lunch. We went to dinner, on the rare occasion that I actually saw him in person. He would look all around the room. He'd look at his plate. He would not look at me. Intimacy, and I don't mean doing it intimacy. I'm talking about intimacy that people have when they're in each other's presence, especially when you don't see each other very often. You're looking at each other's face and you're looking in each other's eyes and you're laughing and you're joking and you're saying funny things and you're doing funny things or whatever the case is. But there was none of that. It was like basically sitting there with a Sears mannequin, like a statue. And I remember the few times that I went on the beach, I was by myself. He didn't walk with me. And it's very good for your glutes and your legs. It's very good to walk in sand. It's real good for your muscles. And it's beautiful. I mean, come on. What's not to love? And I always did it by myself because he's going to sit over there, and I've said this before, he's going to sit over there and disengage, and he's going to take a nap. And I remember at one point I told him, you could fall asleep in the shower, standing up. And he laughed. No, I'm serious, because that's how he detaches. Crazy as hell. So I felt abandoned. I felt alone. I feel abandoned when I need something and your ass ain't available because you going to do it next week. That's abandoning the person too. I know I should be there for you, but I'm not. I'm just not going to do it. Wow, could you be a bigger asshole, do you think? So those were red flags. Every time I was with him, I just started remembering everything. And I thought, like one time I was on the beach with him and I remember finding wampum. Wampum is a mollusk and they make jewelry out of it. And I have a couple of pieces that are wampum, and the colors of the shell are purple and white, which is beautiful. But the jewelry is expensive as hell. So if you know how to make jewelry and you live over there, you know, Massachusetts area, Martha's Vineyard, you live over there and you see it yourself on the beach, it's best for you to get it for free and make jewelry out of it because the markup on it is ridiculous. Absolutely asinine how much they charge for it. So I found a shell that it was wampum and it had the purple and the white, and I was just so happy. And he was way over there because that's how he operates. And I felt so alone. And I remember seeing a couple on the beach. And I just felt the need to connect with her or with them, but mostly her because he's not going to be excited about wampum, I don't think. I don't know, maybe, but I connected with her. And I showed her the shell and I said, "Look at that. Isn't that pretty?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah. I like that. What is that?" And I told her it's wampum and I said, they make jewelry out of it and it could be a little pricey, so if you find it for free, then it's a good idea to keep the shells or whatever. And she said, "Oh my God, I love that." I said, "You could have it." She said, "No way." I said, "Yeah, you can have it. I'll find more." And we just had this little bonding moment. I've never talked about that before because I never came to the full realization that I was abandoned. I had not come to that full realization because I made excuses. We got to stop making excuses for what's right in front of our face. We can't make excuses for what's right in front of us anymore. Well, maybe I read that wrong, or maybe the person's got a lot on their mind. I mean, honey, we could come up with excuses. We could come up with excuses, but the real reality is the person's abandoning you. The reason is irrelevant. They do it every time you're with them, and you rarely with them. And that's even worse. Because when people see each other and they don't see each other that often, they want to squeeze in as much time as they can because it's only for a week or a few days for a weekend. So we want to squeeze in as much fun as we can together. Not when you're dealing with a disordered person. It doesn't work like that. You're going to be physically in their presence, but they're going to be nowhere near you. And it's a painful thing. And I remember to this when I was going on Philbin Beach on Martha's Vineyard, there's this large dune that you have to climb to get to the beach. So it's a huge hill. And it's deep sand. I mean, very deep sand. You don't want to wear sneakers because you're going to get sand in there. You might as well just take your shoes off because the sand is very deep, and you're going to get that in your shoes and you really don't want that. And I struggle. My legs get fatigued easily sometimes. And I said, "Well, I'm going to go on the beach." And he said, "Go ahead." He stayed in the car. Again, we didn't see each other that often. And he was doing the detached thing. And I said, "You're going to have me struggle up that hill by myself? You'll be all right." Okay. I didn't make a big deal about it, but believe me, my mind remembered it and put it in a mental Rolodex. He eventually came to the beach, but he didn't spend a lot of time with me on the beach. He just didn't. It was almost like we're here together, but I'd really rather be somewhere else. Now, if I was laying him the whole time I was seeing him, because that's the most important thing to men, we ordered food in because we ain't leaving the room. Oh, baby. And let me tell you something else. Oh, we're going to go there. If you're intimate with a narcissist, and I don't have to tell y'all this, if you've been married to one, you've been with one in long relationship with this person, whatever, you already know that doing them, they're not with you then either. Oh, snap. They're not with you then either. You would have more fun with a mannequin from a department store. The mannequin will be more interactive. Okay? It is the equivalent of doing a robot. Now, don't get me wrong, we're going to have some grown-up conversation right now. If people are, you know, doing grown-up things to you, you're going to eventually feel nice and whatever. But when you come back to earth, if they're even able to get you to that point, did I go there? Yes, I did. When you come back to earth and your brain settles back in your head, you'll realize that when you look back on it, you'll realize that, you know what? That person wasn't nowhere near me. Yeah, we went through the motions. But that person was absent. They were physically there, but they were absent. And you know what? You feel that even during, lovey-dovey time, you still feel like the person's absent. You're connected, but they're absent. That is a creepy, weird feeling. Went through it for 25 years in my, so-called marriage with my narcissistic ex. You're doing a robot, baby. You're doing a robot. And that's kind of insulting to the robot because robots nowadays can practically read your emotions and have the appropriate conversations with you and say the appropriate words. So even a robot's better. Could be more interactive. Seriously, seriously. I've seen a lady have a conversation with a robot, and you would not know that was a robot. The conversation flowed naturally, and it was tuned into her emotions and everything. So even a robot can have more feelings than a narcissist. Oh, damn. So I was alone with him every time I was with him in person. Nothing I needed was going to happen today. It's going to happen next week or tomorrow. The hell with you, okay? Go jump off a short, what do we say? Take a long walk off a short pier. Go dive into a shark's mouth. I don't freaking need you now. I don't need you ever again because you just off. And I'm just tired of dealing with off people that are sick. He was probably catered to growing up, just like boys are. I'm not saying all boys because some boys are abused and beaten, and their dad's an alcoholic and their mom's a drug head. And I get it. And you could still become a narcissist as a result of that as well. But he has such a massive entitlement that it leads me to believe that he was spoiled rotten growing up. But when I reflected back on all the times I felt abandoned by him, when I look back on the lies, the 4 lies in a row, even though he doesn't lie, I reflected back on all of that. And I'll do it next week, next week, next week. Next week never comes. I was like hit with a heavy feeling of, holy crap, he's a narcissist. And boy, did he hide it well. That's another reason you got to be careful. If you're in a long-term, long distance relationship with somebody, which we weren't in a relationship, but I'm just saying if you were involved with someone and it's long distance, you need to get to know them a lot longer than a year and then we're going to get engaged and get married. No, 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 no. You take your sweet time. You take your sweet time because people can hide a lot when you don't see them that much or you don't talk to them that much. Oh, baby, they can hide. Woo! We have to stop making excuses for the red flags. I always thought he was abandoning me because he was just weird. I thought he was protective of me, and he wasn't. He was just talking those words. When someone would do something off the wall to me, he'd say, I'll come over there and I'll handle it. He don't want me to come down there. And he was never going to do it. It was just talk. It was just talk. But if I were to promise him, you know what? Oh, well, he would do anything for that. He'll pet a great white shark and give him a treat. Like a little dog. Come here, you want a treat? Whatever it takes to get the legs open. Typical. So typical. So if you're seeing somebody long distance, believe me, y'all take your time. Take your time, please. It took me how many years to realize he's a narcissist? And I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to, but everything that he's ever done, and my God, he's gotten 1,000 times worse. The people say narcissists don't change. Oh my God, yes, they freaking do. Oh yes, they do. They get 1,000 times worse. You thought they were bad a couple years ago, baby. You ain't seen bad yet. And of course, a person constantly telling you how wrong you are. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. That's narcissistic too, because you're smarter than me. If I'm a narc, you're smarter than me, and I already have a fragile ego as it is. And you're smarter than me, and I don't play that. I can't allow you to make me feel smaller than I already feel. So I'm going to have to slam you and basically act like anything you say is false. Because I'm trying to make you feel as bad as I feel about myself. Oh, snap. These are all massive red flags, and we have to stop making excuses for red flags. They are so red, okay? And they are flapping in the breeze, and they're gigantic, and they're looking at us like, hello. And we're like, well, maybe this or that. No, 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 no. The person is disrespectful. The person is a liar. The person gives false promises. The person stomps on your boundaries and kicks them out of the way because you are not relevant to them. And let's just keep it real. Why would somebody, you keep on dropping all these sexual hints and whatnot, which I already jumped his ass, I don't know how many times for doing it. And then I just quit talking to him altogether. Now I don't have to deal with that shit no more. And it's beautiful. Why the hell, if you have all this mental disorder in your head, and once somebody finds out that you're like that, that's not an aphrodisiac, dummy. Oh, you never respect my wishes. You would never protect me. You would never be in my corner. When I ask you to do something, you'll do it next week, which is the week that'll never come because it'll never happen. You drop everything for your little guy friends, but if I need something, I could just hold my breath. You think that's an aphrodisiac? You must be smoking crack right now. You better go to rehab or something because that's not cute. That doesn't. Everything I need is totally irrelevant. Oh my God, you're so sexy. Yeah, it don't work like that. Dumbbell. It doesn't work like that. Nobody thinks you're hot when you have no respect for them. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. So yeah, I connected the dots and realized that he's a freaking narc. I haven't talked to him since, and he's blocked. So if he does call, which he has a tendency, this is what narcissists do. Mark my words. Mark my words. Come the holiday time, which is a lot faster than we think it is, because summer is trying to wrap up pretty quick. Oh my God, summer was brutal. But watch. Oh God, and you know I'm gonna tell y'all. Watch. Come the holiday. I know we don't talk anymore, but I've been thinking about you. Merry Christmas. Boy, you better go on somewhere. Yeah, that would be a wasted phone call and a wasted time on his part because I will never respond to him again. So, but I promise you, come Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, oh baby. I was thinking about you. I know you don't talk to me anymore, but I just, you're on my mind. Happy Thanksgiving. The hell off my phone. Okay? So anyway, those are warning signs. The time thing is a big deal. Watch. Narcissists are famous for that. I'll do it later. Later. Later never comes. But let one of their guy friends say, yo, man, I need something today, right now. I hope you don't mind. I know it's last minute. Yeah, man, what time do you need me to do it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Screw off. Both of y'all screw off, okay? Go screw yourself. Anyway, you guys take care. Much love. Bye.